So this session is going to be about demonstrations, and the first demonstrator, is Daria Dall'Olio, and she's going to be connected online about Costellazione Manga. So let's see if the...
Hello.
Okay. There she is. Okay. Hello, Daria.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Yeah. So can I go? I cannot see my screen, but maybe you can.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Here now we can see it.
Yeah, thank you so much. So good morning, everyone. I am a postdoc at the Institute of Radio Astronomy in Italy. It's located in Bologna, and here I'm studying the formation of new stars using ALMA. But alongside my research activity, I also been involved in science communication for almost 20 years now. And Costellazione Manga is one of the projects that I developed within the activity of the Amateur Astronomer Society, ARAR, and the Japanese Cultural Exchange Association, ASHIG, within the Planetarium of Ravenna, that is my hometown in Italy. So let me see, I can go on. Yes, so it was launched in 2011, and Costellazione Manga is built on a very simple yet powerful concept. Japanese manga and anime are an universal language that transcends borders and unites generations worldwide. This common language was born around 1970s, when people had the chance to watch anime mainstreamed in TV, and then they buy and read manga in the bookshop. And since then, manga and anime have drastically changed our culture, and today these works are deeply rooted and permanent part of our global pop culture. So our second core pillar is a comparison between fiction and reality. We analyze astronomical references in anime and manga, and we highlight the actual physics behind them. For instance, we use realistic sci-fi comics to illustrate the harsh reality of space travel, or we use more fantastic narratives to introduce a general astronomical concept, such, for instance, the difference between planets, stars, galaxies, and also discuss a captivating search for life in the universe. The third pillar of our project focuses on stimulating critical thinking. By engaging the public within the story of a manga or an anime that people already love and know, we create a connection, we can create connection with them, and we make science incredibly accessible for the public. Indeed, educational research has long proven the pedagogical value of animation and comics, and in our project we map our activities directly onto this dimension of change. You can see here some references, but basically the pillars of the links that we built are emotion, storytelling, humor, art, and everyday life, because we connect with the public using the hidden science inside the stories that they love already and they knew very well. Let's move now to some example. I decided to start with Grindizer because it is one of the most beloved anime, and far beyond Europe. It's stretching across the Middle East and the South Caucasian region as well. And I really wanted to tune into something that you in Armenia and your neighbors already know and love. And indeed, across the Middle East and the South Caucasus, Grindizer was so famous. And you can see here a shakeman, a Lebanese street art duo of two brothers that have painted this calligraphy across different countries in Beirut, for instance, Kuwait, Dubai, and right here in Yerevan, you have one of these beautiful murales. As kids in the 1980s, the shakeman watched Grindizer while they were hiding in the underground bomb shelters because they were terrified by the civil war outside. It was a Lebanon deeply divided by religion and politics, and Grindizer was the only thing that brought everyone together. It didn't matter what neighborhood you were from or what religion you believed in. The kids finally came out from the bunkers, and they all cheer for Duke Fleet and for Grendizer. This is gigantic robot became a sort of symbol of freedom and survival for everyone. So why I'm sharing this story here now? Because yesterday during his plenary talk, Areg Mikhelian showed us a map of this region, reminding us of the ongoing conflicts. So for a Sheckman, painting these robots today is a way to protect the memory of those children who needed strength during the war. It's a way to celebrate Grendizer as protector of a childhood moment. And this is the real power of manga and anime. They build bridge where politics build walls. So just like astronomy connect us under the same sky, Grendizer created a shared language based on space adventures, a simple human tool that we can use to talk about science, hope, and peace to all the people. To give you a quick context of the story, Uforobo Grendizer follows Duke Fleet. He has an alien prince who escapes the destruction of his home planet, Fleet, devastated by the evil King Vega. He finds refuge on Earth under the human alias Daisuke, and he works on a countryside farm. But when Vega's forces attack his new home, he must use the mighty robot Grendizer to defend humanity. And the story proceeds, and we learn that Fleet is a planet that is located within the Vega system, and Duke Fleet pilots Grendizer inside a spacecraft called the Spacer. Here in this slide, you can see the original iconic characters from the series in 1970s, which recently inspired a modern reboot called Grendizer U that was aired in 2024. But let's jump from fiction to reality. Does really Vega exist? Can we look at it in the sky? Absolutely yes, because Vega is one of the brightest and most studied stars in our sky. It is located in the constellation of Lyra. It is a young, hot blue-white star that is far more luminous than our sun. And historically, Vega is an astronomical milestone because it was one of the very first stars ever photographed and analyzed. And for a long time, it was even used as a reference standard to calibrate the brightness of other stars. But today, Vega, is still at the forefront of science because recent observation with James Webb's Space Telescope and ALMA have revealed a massive disk of dust and icy material around it. This was quite similar to our Kuiper belt, and this means that Vega is offering us a crucial new constraint on planetary formation, and it might indeed host planets that we haven't seen yet. And maybe we can dream about Duke Fleet, the home planet. He comes from a beautiful green planet full of life. You can see here some picture from the Grendizer U anime that was destroyed by Vega army. And we don't really know yet if planets are orbiting around Vega, but hopefully we have new observation and we will be able to constrain the presence of this planet or more planets around Vega. And we can, I went down, I went back, but I want just to focus on the fact that we don't have to confuse with another beautiful object that is present close to Vega, that is a ring nebula, that is a planetary nebula, and this is absolutely not linked to planetary system. And this spectacular planetary nebula has nothing to do with Vega, because it is a sun-like star that is basically facing its final life, its final stage, is expelling its outer layers outside, and it leaves a white dwarf at its center. And the ring nebula appears close to Vega just because of perspective effect, but in reality it is about 2,000 light years away from us. And yes, so we can ask how far away is actually Vega. And if we use one of the fastest rockets that we have, it will still take us hundreds of thousands of years to reach it. But of course, Duke Fleet and the evil army of Vega have technologies that are far more advanced than ours, making interstellar travel too easy, because they were reaching us, our planet, all in few days. So speaking about space travel, we can move to the second example, and I'm pretty sure that if you look at this dragon, you will recognize it immediately. It is the most famous and popular manga ever written, but please don't tell me that Dragon Ball is just a manga about martial arts, because this is far from the truth. In fact, Dragon Ball is deeply rooted in science fiction and animation, and and astronomy, because it shows that you have a lot of aliens. These guys here that you can see in the screen, you know that they are all aliens coming from other planetary systems around the universe. So we see that Dragon Ball has a lot of space exploration as well, and driven this space exploration, by the way, by an amazing female scientist who is Bulma. Thanks to her, the whole story exists, and thanks to her, the problems were always solved because she was a sort of genius. So all these aliens, where are they from? Of course, they are from exoplanets. We have a lot of exoplanets, imaginary worlds that were drawn by Toriyama. Here you can look at the planet Namek with this green atmosphere and three suns orbiting around it, and the high gravity planet Vegeta. I just showing you some example, but this perfectly aligns with one of the most exciting fields in modern astrophysics, that is the study of exoplanets. We can draw a complete Dragon Ball exoplanet zoo, and of course we can analyze their atmospheres. We can think about the gravity, how does it shape the potential habitability of the planet, and of course about biodiversity and the possibility of life beyond our own planet. But Toriyama didn't just imagine planets. He built entire alien ecosystem and an indigenous species that populates these worlds. For instance, here you have Namek. It was the first planet visited by the protagonist of the series Dragon Ball, and it is a homeland of a humanoid population that survives only on water. They were the Namekians, and they were cultivating trees to reforest the planet after it was devastated by freezer attack. So planet Namek is presented as a sort of paradise, rich in biodiversities. You will see creatures of every kind populating the seas and the land, and it is in a way that reminds us our planet Earth. But we don't have any heavy freezer destroying the planet, because unfortunately we are doing it ourselves, killing each other. So we also have other strange planets like Polaris, and this appears covered in ice and strongly resembles the frozen environment of Pluto. So how does the real Pluto actually looks like? Thanks to NASA New Horizons mission, we finally discovered that Pluto is not just a distant ball of ice, but is a complex, amazing world with stunning environments, surprising complex features, shifting nitrogen ice, creating patterns that were really amazing, and they are just waiting for us to be studied completely. The mission indeed transformed our understanding of Pluto, showing that even small icy world in the outer solar system region can be dynamic and fascinating places. And in the story, we also witness the tragic end of some planets, like planet Vegeta, that was home of the mercenary warrior Science. It was completely wiped out by a catastrophic cosmic impact, much more powerful than the one that destroyed the dinosaurs on Earth. In the story of Dragon Ball, they had the power to rebuild the planet later in the story. Unfortunately, we don't have this chance to rebuild Earth. So if a catastrophic impact caused by an asteroid or something else happened to us, we will not have another planet where to go. Because beyond the story of who is the strongest fighter in the universe, or the endless rivalry between Goku and Vegeta, here we can stop a moment and have a deeper reflection. Life development is deeply linked to the type of parent star that we are living on, right? And planetary ecosystems are incredibly fragile. we have just to think about how precious and vulnerable are habitable worlds, because in this way it's obvious that we must protect our own little pale blue dot, because if we go back to our reality and we ask how many exoplanets do we really know today, the answer is that we know a lot of them, 5,600, more 800 exoplanets nowadays orbiting around other stars in our galaxy. But when we go to the final question of how much of them are really Earth 2.0s, they are real planets where we can live, we can go, similar to our own Earth. They are so few because we have just 20 or 60 of them according to the criteria used, over 5,000 and more planets seen. So we have only one planet where we can live together. All the others are all too far away from us. If we ask Bulma, for instance, where is Namek, she will tell us that it is located on the opposite side of the galaxy. With our current technology, we cannot reach it. While we have in Dragon Ball spacecraft that are able to travel from one side of the other of the galaxy in just few days, we are still going in baby steps during our try and tentative in space exploration. We have just started it and we are still exploring our surroundings. So slowly we will go further, and new generation is preparing indeed the return of humans to deep space, because we are actually proving that curiosity, science, respect for each other and cooperation can still push humanity toward new horizon. So I just want now to move to the last example of my demonstration, mentioning Leiji Matsumoto. He was one of the most important sci-fi mangaka, and through his work such as Galaxy Express, Captain Harlock, and Stardinger, Matsumoto significantly influenced and created passion for astronomy and space exploration in generation of people. For instance, by looking at planets drawn by him in his operas, some of them are inside our solar system, while others are unknown and imaginary worlds. But when the Galaxy Express, that is a space train traveling across the galaxy, visits some of the planets of our solar system, we can see that these images have mostly stood the test of time because they were showing just how careful Matsumoto Sensei was in building his own worlds, because they were so well described. For instance, Mars looked more or less like the images that we see today, thanks to the Curiosity and Perseverance rovers that are exploring the planet now. And if you look at the gigantic planets like Jupiter or Neptune, with their thick and turbulent atmosphere, he was drawing pictures of the storm and tornadoes that were quite similar to the picture taken by Juno on the Jupiter surface. So wrapping up everything about this project, over the years, Costellazione Manga has expanded into a vast array of free educational activities. We presented these as planetarium shows, conferences, school seminars and labs. We went to visit the Comic and Science Festival, even abroad. When I was living in Sweden during my PhD, I exported the project with me and I presented it in Gothenburg at the Vetenskap Festival. And we organized an exhibition and guided tours of the night sky. And we even designed a unique crossover event at the Museum of Modern Art in Ravenna, blending astronomy, manga, and Dante Alighieri for his 700th anniversary. Of course, we don't have the numbers of gigantic and huge, beautiful projects that you have presented already, like the Galaxy Zoo and the Zoo Universe, because we are still really a small reality. But even so, since we started in 2011, we have obtained a very good reception, even internationally. We had a very warm response. And In 2023, we had a very good feedback because Costellazione Manga received a special mention in a prestigious Japanese astronomy outreach magazine, Hoshinavi, and we also contributed with an article dedicated to Leiji Matsumoto and his scientific legacy, and it was published in June of 2023. And thanks to the popularity of anime and manga, we were able to engage a very diverse audience and receive an enthusiastic response. And through our pop approach, we successfully inspired both younger and older generation at the same time. So to conclude, these are my main three take-home message for you. Engage through passion. To connect with the public, we need to focus on our audience, and we must tune the choice of manga and anime accordingly to our public, to our country. And maybe we will also see that manga and anime are not just for kids, but they are multi-generational tool. And we can build also family bridge, because children will gladly explore their parents' favorite childhood anime and vice versa. And by utilizing this global pop culture language, we can effectively communicate astronomy, inspiring critical thinking, and unite people under the same sky. Thank you.
Thank you, Daria. Can you hear us?
I cannot hear you.
Okay. There is a problem. She can't hear us. So anyway, is there questions in the room for the moment?
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't hear you anymore.
Okay, can you hear us now?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, there is one question for you.
Hi, thank you for your talk. As a participant from Japan, I fully agree with you in the power of manga in science communication. But actually, we have once invited Leiji Matsumoto to the astronomers meeting because he was very much inspiring for all of us. So I fully agree with you. This manga has a power. But however, for example, the old manga and anime like that of the Leiji Matsumoto sometimes have a problem in terms of, for example, the gender norms or the way they treat minority in their manga, because they have some, their value is quite old from modern perspectives. So you have to be a bit careful, I think, to treat these manga and anime, the old ones, when you show them to the kids, because they have some old values, particularly in terms of gender norms and the minority issues. So I just want to hear your opinion about that.
Yeah, but that is actually a very good point. But I don't think that is a weakness point. Actually, it's a good strength point, because then we have the chance to discuss the gender gap problems. And I very, very, I very, very like interested in this topic. I really like to discuss also how during the history this perspective changed, and it's important, to link the generation, because I'm trying to involve not just the kids, but also the older generation, let's say our parents or our grandparents, and they were the ones that were looking at this anime in the TV when they were younger. If we have the chance to discuss how this perspective changed, this is something that is important, because you can transmit new values and new perspective to the younger generation and say, yes, we can do better now. So I thank you.
Okay, thank you. One more question, and then we move on to the next speaker.
Thank you so much for sharing your ideas with us. I think it's a very nice concept. I'm a 38 years old and I still watch anime. So I do agree with you, but I just have a question. How can I use this method for the older ones and not make them feel like this workshop or this session is for kids? Like I want to implement it in my workshops, for example. How would I make them feel like it's for everyone?
Well, of course, you have to do research. You must know your audience, because in this way you can find the best way to link yourself with the audience. And you want to prepare maybe a workshop, you have to tune it, maybe deciding which age you want to focus on, maybe for younger people or maybe for older people. And if you decide to have something that bring all the generation together, you can try to find out which is one of the comics that can be used. Like for instance, Dragon Ball is is been ongoing on air since almost 40 years now. So I am a mother now. I started to look at Dragon Ball when I was like 10 years old. And now I'm bringing my kids at school and I'm seeing them having the same passion for Dragon Ball at school. So it's really a huge bridge, this manga, between two different generations. So yeah, the concept is you must have some research before to know your audience. Thank you.
Indeed, I also watched Dragon Ball when I found it on TV. Okay, thank you very much again. Let's thank Daria again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so the next speaker is Arturo Maldonado, but I'm not sure he's in the room. And he's not online. It's been confirmed. So I think we can move on to the next speaker, which is Gareth Chadwick, that will talk about design for non-designers, simple steps to make stellar visuals.
Sorry, I'm just having a quick look. Just trying to share my screen.
Will the slides be brought up from the online?
Just, I had to allow permission to share my screen. It didn't have it, so.
Oh.
But I'm just going through it now. Sorry, I had to give it permissions, so I've had to quit and reopen everything. So it should have permissions. Yeah, I can do it now. Yeah. Do you need sound? No. Is that sharing? Entire screen. Can I? Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Gareth, but everybody knows me as Gaz, and I am Creative Officer for the SKA Observatory. Today, I'm going to be telling you some simple do's and don'ts of graphic design. And more specifically, if you would like to make an event poster, I'll be advising you on kind of things you should consider when doing so. So yeah, I work for the SK Observatory. Our HQ is in the United Kingdom near Manchester. Our SK mid-frequency dishes are situated in the Northern Cape in South Africa. We're currently in the construction phase, so eventually they will reach an array of 150 kilometre baseline, and our SK low frequency antennas that are currently being built will reach 74 kilometres, so they will be the two largest telescope arrays on Earth. So a bit about me. I have a degree in graphic design. I have over 10 years experience, and I have 2 years experience at the SKO. So where I don't have an astronomy background, I've been able to bring my kind of creative juices into visual astronomy communication. And just a bit of an example of the types of work I do. So it's not just graphic design. So for example, I was at our SKO science meeting last year doing photography and videography. I do digital work, including video editing and motion graphics. And I do a lot of graphic design when it comes to brochures, flyers, merchandise, and small and large exhibit stands. So types of challenges we might find in visual communication. So if you want something designing, you might not actually have a designer in-house, depending on the scale and budgets. Budgets are limited, so you might not be able to outsource a designer, and people may be just expected to make something, but you wouldn't know where to start. There are also many tools online, but you might not know how to use them, basically, and knowing where to start could be challenging. And if you don't have that design background, it might actually be hard for you to know what does make a design effective. So this is something you might typically see for an event. So I put this together. It goes against the grain of everything I know, but I just wanted to kind of show you what you might typically see. So here, there's too much text for starters. If everything's important, nothing's important. It's quite hard to read. There's a lot of words on there. There's too many fonts used here. And there's no clear focus to what is happening. And also the alignment is all off. So we've got some things left aligned, some things centrally aligned. And for the SKO, this would be off-brand anyway, because we don't use any of these fonts. And also what you might find is people may go online, find a logo online, and it'll be highly pixelated and small. So the resolution isn't clear enough. So that's something else to consider. And overall, it could look a bit unprofessional. Yeah, so if everything is important, nothing is important. And instead of trying to fix this, I'll be showing you how to avoid it completely. So everything does come down to these three principles. So when you build in a visual together, like an event poster, the first one you need to think of is hierarchy, also known as hierarchy of information. So what does matter the most? What would you like people to see first, second, and third? And that's kind of how you layer it on your poster. Number two is contrast. So can you read it instantly? Are you using a clear font? Is it against a dark background with a light bit of text? Does it stand out? Is it all legible as well? And another important thing to consider are the colours you use because of accessibility, not only for the visual fonts, but also colours. So we have to consider that people may be colourblind and certain colours don't work together. So there are online tools where you can upload a design and it'll do like a colour checker just to kind of show you those with the most severe colour blindness would be able to see it okay. And then the third one is alignment. So does it feel organized? Is your layout clean? Have you left some breathing space? And is it structured? And does it just generally look like there's a balance and order to the design? And then just some other considerations to make. So does your organization have existing style guide or brand guidelines? You should use fonts, colors, and logos, approved ones where possible. Keep layouts and stylings consistent, so you just get consistency across the board. And it does help strengthen your brand recognition too. And also apply the 3 core design principles I just mentioned. And one thing I would just like to say as well is if you're a startup or quite new to this, with your own kind of thing going on, I would say get your own style guide together from the start. So everything you put out there will be recognizable as you grow as well. And also, when you're putting a design together, choose a striking background image. And it's okay to use the same image everywhere because not everyone's seen you before. So just use it, use that recognizable brand image. So yeah, I'm just going to take you to the demonstration now. So there are lots of tools out there. Lots of you would have used Canva. People may design a poster in PowerPoint. But I do like the Adobe kind of series because that's my bread and butter basically. So I use the Adobe Creative Suite, but I will be showing you on the free version of Adobe Express. So there are other premium features available, but this design today is free basically. So what you would like to do is make a free account. And when you want to start a design, you can go into the top corner and press the plus button. And you get a lot of kind of options here, but I just simply want an A4 poster on this occasion. So you can literally search A4, and then I want it portrait. I would ignore the templates because I want to build this from scratch. So I will click around this area, and it will give me the blank canvas. What I would then do is I would give my file a name. So always name your files for convenience in the future. Just want to stay organized at all times, starting from the beginning. So what I have done is I have already got a canvas here because I preloaded the text for essence of time. So on the left here, you will see your tool options and your menus there as you go down. So you can upload your imagery and things like that. And once you have uploaded your images, they will stay in your stuff in an uploads folder. So once I've uploaded everything, it's just handy to keep everything together. And you can always refer back to this as you go along through the design. So as you would start your design normally, I would place my background image in there. And it doesn't have to be in the correct position yet because you can do that at the end. I just fully know that I've kind of cropped this so for the time today. And as you can see on the right hand side, these are your layers. So you can see where I preloaded the text in there as well. So that's my background, and I will drag it down in a minute. But normally you would add your background and then your logo and your text. So I'm just going to go back into my uploads, and I'm going to add my logo to the design. Oh, excuse me. You can actually also click it, and it will appear in the things. So as you can see, if you kind of drag your trackpad or your mouse, you'll see these lines appear. So these are basically kind of guides and anchor points to help you guide things into areas that you wish. And I'm just going to scale it down in the corner here. And so I can either drag and drop it, or you can use the position tools here. So I know that on this design, for example, I would like everything centrally aligned. So that's moved everything into place for me. What you would then do is you would add your text. So as you can see, I'm just dragging it down. So for timing. And I've placed the SKO brand type font, sorry, as the text. And I'm just going to edit one of the text boxes. So I'm going to change this to our brand font, which is No So Sans Light, and I will increase the size. So everything I'm thinking about whilst I'm putting this together is hierarchy. So I want the header to be nice and big because I want people to see that first. And then I also want to highlight certain elements throughout. For example, highlighting certain areas of text. So here I've highlighted the date because that's also one of the main things we'd like people to see. So I've used that by making the text bold, or to be more precise, the weight of the font. I'm also thinking about the contrast here. So there is some stars behind the text, and what I would like to do, and you can add an effect to the text. So you can add drop shadows behind the text, and it'll just basically lift it off a bit to create that contrast, especially when you print something, because things can turn out differently when you print something as well. So you can use these preset shadows, or you can customize your shadow too. So I like to create a less obvious blur because I just feel like it can look slightly smarter in times rather than a harsh shadow. And I would then, once I've added all the text in, I'm thinking about a call to action. Because we want to streamline the text, we don't want to, in England, we might say it might translate, but I don't want to throw the kitchen sink at it. I don't want everything to be plastered on there. So I've got your basic information, and I'm going to put a QR code in, so the person reading it, you can hook them in with the key points, and you can add your call to action. So I'm just going to size that down to a good size. And as you see here, I'm anchoring it in. I'm not using the position, but I was pressing and holding the mouse, and it dragged it into place. So yeah, hierarchy, contrast, and alignment all has been considered here with a nice striking background image. So once we have that, I'm just going to go back to my PowerPoint. And there you go. Same goals, but a different outcome. With everything being considered there. So the process summarized. You've chosen a strong visual background. You've added your messaging. You've built the hierarchy. You've ensured there's contrast there. And you've taken the time to align everything. Once you have done that, you should ensure you proofread it, review it, make sure you're happy, and then you can export it. I have also created a handy guide at the end of the presentation where it'll go through a step-by-step of that process I've just mentioned. So I also show you, if you want to set it up for print with a professional printers where you can add bleeds and things like that. I just wanted to save a bit of time today. So yeah, there's a takeaway cheat sheet for everyone here. And it also shows if you have a landscape image, but you want to put it into a portrait poster, there are tools out there where you can expand the background to allow for portrait posters, as well as creating QR codes. But yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Gus. Our creative director, Matthias, would endorse this. So there is a couple of questions online, but we can have room questions first.
Hi, thank you so much. This is a nitpicky question, but I noticed it in your final product. How do you determine when to capitalize and not capitalize universe in your content?
That is a very, we have a style guide at the SKO, so we follow that style guide. I'm not a content written wizard, as to say, so I like to follow the style guide. My colleague Anne would probably be able to answer that specific question, but we always capitalize the word universe, basically.
Just gonna bring in the astronomer perspective. If you're talking about the Milky Way galaxy or our universe, it's always capitalized. That's like talking about your house or home. Whereas if you're doing some theoretical physics where you build parallel universes, you use the lowercase u. So that's how things are.
Any more questions in the room?
Thank you very much. So you mentioned Canva at the beginning, and
Yes.
you're showing us Adobe Express. What would you say are the biggest, like, why do you prefer Adobe Express to Canva?
So personally, I prefer Adobe Express because the Adobe suite generally is basically the bread and butter of everything I use. So I use the more complicated programs. So I just find the ease of use really. It's kind of what you would get used to, I suppose. For example, one thing I do in my organization is I will set templates up in my more back-end Adobe programs, and I would then upload it to Adobe Express for my colleagues to use. For those that aren't as have the just for the consistency and things like that. But Canva, it's not something I have personally fully explored, but I know it has probably just similar kind of workings as Adobe Express would. So yeah.
Okay, 2 more questions, and then we move to the next speaker.
Hey Kaz, thank you. That was a really great presentation. I have a question about your speaking about hierarchy of information, and I think it's probably something everyone who communicates, who does science communication, can relate to, which is trying to narrow down those key messages, especially when you're working with highly academic teams and people who value all of the information. So do you have any tips or any tricks that you've found particularly useful in working with your team to narrow down those key messages and remove some of the excess, the kitchen sink, as you put it?
So that is actually a great question, and that is probably something I did intend to mention. So thank you for asking. Basically, what I do is I like to work with whether it's the event organisers and the science team to try and get to a happy middle ground, and you can kind of explain to them what you think would be important, and obviously they would say the same. So just a lot of discussions really needs to happen. I suppose you just need to get to a good middle ground. So that is also why I would personally put key highlight words throughout a poster design with that QR code. And then as long as I've worked with those other teams and they're happy, we're happy, we both get to a good middle ground, basically. I'm a less is more type of person. So I like breathing space, but I also want the correct information on there. So yeah, back and forth on that. Communication.
Okay, so Anais' question actually overlapped with the 2 online questions from Samir Durd and Ana Vicente, which were answered already. It was about Canvas and Adobe Express. And so there was one more here, and then one final.
Thank you. Very interesting and useful presentation. You mentioned contrast, but you did not mention colors. And for instance, in your example, there is a text in gray color over a dark background, which personally have a bit of difficulty to read. So are there any basic rules on colors using to get a good contrast, and not only for visually impaired people, but also for a general public?
Yeah, sorry, I missed that point on the grey bit. I don't know if it just didn't translate as well onto the projector, but everything on here was white against black. So I think colour exploration is something to kind of practice with, and especially if you're working with an organisation with those brand colours, there'd quite often be kind of some guidelines of maybe what colours to use and what colours not to use against each other. So as well, there are tools out there where you can put that design into, and test it against for accessibility reasons too. So it's just like exploring that really. I hope that answers the question.
Hello, a question about AI usage in design and how do you decide what gets disclosed, at what level, built-in tools versus generative AI and all of that?
Yeah, so I know this is a very much an emerging thing, especially on disclosure. So my usage of AI within, for example, a background image, and I mentioned this in my guide as well, as long as it doesn't add or change the structural integrity of the image. So I would only expand, for example, an image where I'm not creating a brand new thing that would never usually exist there. And so basically I kind of use it in a subtle way. And I just generally personally, I use AI as an aid to help kind of the work process there. And it does help speed up the process at times as well. I'm also against AI and the fact that I don't want it to do everything for me. I don't want AI to be the base design. I would personally use AI as an idea generation tool, because I want a full quality kind of background image. That's just my take on it, really. But yeah, as long as it doesn't make something brand new when I'm trying to show something factual like the SK mid site or the SK low site, I hope that helps.
Okay, let's thank Gaz again.
Yeah. Thank you.
And we move on now to the last speaker of the session, since the very last was cancelled. So Elisa Camisasca, she will talk about multisensory simulation of exoplanets. And there's going to be robots involved, I understand.
So good morning, everybody. I'm Anna Camisasca. I'm from the University of Bologna, but this project was developed at the observatory of the Aosta Valley. So I'm really grateful to both of these places for being here. My presentation is with Canva, so I hope it can be okay. Anyway. So first thing, I would like to show you where are these two places that I'm involved with. So first of all, let's see the University of Bologna. So we are in the central part of Italy. And here I'm not working on communication, but I'm working on research. And in particular, I'm involved in ALMA project. While the observatory of the Aosta Valley, which the perfect name is Osservatorio della Regione Autonoma della Valle d'Aosta, is a beautiful place which is located in the northern part of Italy, in the mountains, and there you can have a really nice experience, both with the public and with the school. In particular, there are 7 telescopes that you can use to look at the sky with the public, so it's something really immersive. And there are also some beautiful places where you want to, if you want to ski, so ski and sky is a good combination, I think. But what I'm going to talk to you is my project. Okay, so the project which involves a robot and that I developed there for the schools. So usually schools came there. There are schools from different ages, and this laboratory was developed for students of the medium high school, so like from 12 to 16 years old students. I started considering which I think can be some educational needs that we have in this period. So I think that students has to learn how to collaborate together before everything. And then they have to learn how to learn, also doing mistakes. So perhaps also today I will do some mistakes, just be patient with me. That's part of the process, I think. And then I like when students can develop also their creativity. So the same lab can be run in many different ways. So I just hope that today you can take the idea and then if you want, develop it as you prefer in your context, then can be really different from how I did, but just take the idea. And the last thing is that I think that now we are in a society full of technology, so it's necessary that students learn how to use it and how to use it in a proper way. So also like how to use a mobile phone, not just to chat, but also to doing science. I'm going to talk to you about, in particular, the transit method to detect exoplanet. So since 1995, more than 6,000 exoplanets has been discovered. And I'm not sure you can see it properly, but here there is a plot that shows you the different methods that has been used to detect exoplanet. And then there is like the purple magenta one that we can see is the most used one. And the most used one is the transit method. So this laboratory talks about the transit method. That is what happens, how can you detect an exoplanet? It's so far from us, it's really difficult to look at it directly. So we need another method. And the method is that when the planets cross is between you and the star that you are looking, then the light of the star decreases. So what you can see is that the light of the star is decreasing. So that's why astronomers can, that's the most used method to detect the exoplanet. So what we want to do is to do something similar. So we want to detect exoplanet and to explain to the student how astronomers detect exoplanet. Here with me, there is also Katia that worked at the observatory. She is still working, so she perhaps know more than me how is to use this laboratory, because I developed it, but she is using it. So she is also helping me now to manage everything. And she today, she told me, oh, you know, usually when I do my presentation to the students, I do not explain the method, but I just tell the students, okay, we are learning it, and then you will explain it to me. So that's why we do at the laboratory, at the observatory. So this light is not full, so perhaps is not the best way, but it was just to introduce which is the material that we need. So the material that we use at the laboratory are 2 laptops, 2 different robots, 1 lamp, and then different balls, because you can simulate exoplanet of different size. And then if you want to put the ball over the robot, you can use different ways. So you can also ask the student to develop how they want to put the ball, where they want to put it. You want it to be symmetric respect to the star or not, where everything. You can change different things in this laboratory. Then for sure, it's possible that you do not have a robot. So if you do not have a robot, you can use many different other things. So you can use, for example, I bring here a toy trains, but you can also move yourself and run you create a circumference around the star running, so you can do whatever you want. And then there are 2 different apps that I'm going to use. One is Firefox, which is free, and it works both with Android and iOS, and it was developed from a German university group. It won many awards. It's really useful at school. I'm a high school teacher as background, so I found it really useful for many different experiments. While the second app is mostly useful for people that can see, so for blind people. And this app, it allows you to understand if in one room you have the light or not. So it's like they use it if they are going outside from a room, they can understand if they forgot to turn off the light. But we can use it for our experiment too. So the first part of the experiment, as we developed at the observatory, is divided. The first part is to divide the group that you have of students. Like you can have eight students, and you divide them in two different groups. And the two different groups has to learn two different things, and then they will go together to perform the experiment together. So the fact is that in that way, each person is much more involved, and they can learn how to collaborate, because in the scientific world, we need to collaborate. So it's also to start to understand how you can do everything alone. You have to collaborate. So the first part of the group has to learn how to rotate the robot around the lamp, while the second part of the group has to learn how to use the sensor or the phone, the app that they have on the phone. And then after that, they learn how to do this, they can work together to perform the experiment. So this part is how you can make your robot rotate. So you have two different wheels, and you have that wheels has to rotate at a different speed, and they have to understand which is the best speed that they can have to have this particular circumference. We are not going to do this because now we are going to use the sensors. The second part is using sensor or using app. So this app, if you want to download it, is for free. It can be used in each kind of mobile phone, and it's really, really easy to use. So what I'm trying to do with you now is exactly to use this app and to use the robot to understand how the transit method can work. So just give me a few minutes to bring everything here and to work with the robot. In the meanwhile, if you want, you can download the app. No, that's a presentation mode. There is not the boy that helped me yesterday. We did yesterday. Oh, perhaps we can like use another computer. Sorry? Sì, al massimo, sì. Or I can do intimus cameras, perhaps. Let's try with this. That is better, but it doesn't work. Try the full screen. Yes, I think the full screen is. Oh, okay. So perhaps also area. Yeah, that's all. Yeah. Yeah, but it doesn't allow me to work on the app. Like I can't. Does it work? Try go. Yeah, that works. Yeah. Yes. Working. Yes, but I can't. Okay, I will do it in that way, and that's okay. What if you change settings here? That's the one. Oh yes, I can. Super. Just tweak the. How can I? No. It's refresh. Or open a new experiment. Yeah. It's easier. Very easy. Okay. It's working, not perfectly, but that one? Yeah. Okay. 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 Yes. Yes. And then wait, I think I can 20. I think. Yeah, but I don't think we will do all. I mean, yeah. Yeah. No. It doesn't work. Okay, so as I said before, there can be some mistakes sometimes, something that doesn't work properly, but now we have got it. So what we are looking now is what we can have with the app that is connected with the robot. And now we are using the robot just as the sensor of light, and we are starting rotating the train, which is an Italian train, so sometimes you can have some delay, but it's okay. Then, so we can start with the train and then collecting data. Okay, So okay, that's the one. Okay. So some things. One thing is that we are working with the light in the room, so that doesn't work the thing properly. But then we can run it again because it seems at the beginning that it was not working, but honestly it works really well. And if you download also the app, someone download it? Okay, so then I can show you, if I have time, I don't know how much time do we have, I can show you how to work with the app. So let's try just 1 second again with this, and then we can try with the 2 different apps. Devaglia. Okay, coming. Okay. Can you see it? So it's this one. Okay. So I can also remove all the other from here. No, where is? I mean, it's Katia that is using it now. It's more than 1 year that I'm not using, but honestly, it works really well. Then I would like to do it if I have time. How much time do I have? 2 minutes. Okay, so I'm using just the other app with the sound, so it can be clear how to do for people that can see. So how can I go back to the presentation? So I want to talk to you also about, oh, no. Okay, that one. This app is the app that I was talking to you before that you can use with blind people. And as I said before, it can detect the light. So now I connected it with the box. And if it works, but usually it works, but as you know. Okay, so now you can listen the sound, but if I do like this, it go down. Okay, that's the game. So if I put here next to the train, any changes. But then the idea is that if you find the right position, it decreases and then increase again. Okay, so honestly, I'm really sorry that this presentation was not exactly as I imagined it, but I mean, you just have to take the idea and to bring it home and use it however you want. You can change many things. You can change the dimension of the ball. You can put some spot on the light to say, okay, in the sun, in the stars, we can also have some spots that can change the light and something like this. So just take the idea, use it however you prefer, and enjoy it. So yes, thank you for your patience.
Okay, thank you, Anna. This was never going to be easy, of course. So there is a couple of questions online, but we have time for a couple of questions on site, and then.
I want to ask about the sound. It is like the Doppler effect, or it is not like.
It's just, if you look at the picture here, you have 0% when it's totally dark, and 100% when there is a lot of light. And so what it changes is the volume of the light, of the sun, yes. It's also changed a bit, that's true. It's also changed a bit the frequency, yes. Yeah, that is. I was looking for an app that just changes the volume, but I couldn't find it. Yes, but also you can use for this. Yeah, it changes also the frequency.
So thank you very much. The role of the robot is only for the light sensor, or do you also have an installation where the robot moves in some way?
Okay, so what we do at the observatory is to have two robots. So one robot turn around, and the other robot has a sensor. So a part of the group learn how to use one robot, and the other part of the group learn how to use the other one. So you need two robots. In Italy, they are quite common now in the schools. So it's something that can be an option for the schools also to use in that way.
Okay. The last two questions on site, because then there is a few online.
Have you ever tried it with multiple planets? 2 planets, 3?
Okay, so we wanted to. We tried as like a staff experiment, but we found it quite difficult for the students. But it's an option for sure. And you can see the different light, the two light curves turning down in different moments. Also, one thing is you can change the period of the planet. So many different things. You can ask them, okay, if the planet is nearer, how it has to be the period, is it farther, and so on. And another thing I did was also like to move also this robot, the robot with the sensor, and just no planet, just the light and the sensor, and you move far the robot, and you see the light that for sure is going down. And so you can explain also the habitability zone. So you can understand why, if you are next to the planet, then your habitability zone is smaller. When you are farther, then you have more distance that are allowed as habitability zone. So you can work on many different things, always with the same setting. But yes, that's an idea. We had it, and then we decided not to use. Because also here, okay, it was quite not easy to perform it here, and it doesn't run as I wanted, but I really think that doing mistakes is something useful. So also perhaps like trying with different planets, and it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work? So perhaps the two light curves are 1, 2 next to the other, so I can't understand that they are 2 planets. So they seem to me just one. But it's something that can happen also to astronomers. So that's thing. We decided not to use, but it's something that we can use also to explain that is difficult. So thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. Actually, I have a comment rather than a question. I did something very similar some 10 years ago when I worked in an astrophysics department where the transit method was one of the main research topics. And we did it I did it with high school students as to build the setup, and then I also did the experiment itself with primary school students, and we used an electric train only without any robots because that's more haptic. That's what the people know anyway, and then the ball does. The ball now the ball that simulates the planet fell off, and we avoid this problem by using only the train, and then you can append different numbers of wagons and then have the planet of different sizes in the detection. We built several electric train orbits so that we have a multi-planet system, and the central lamp, we used actually a ball lamp with an LED which can switch the color. And so you also can do a little bit of spectroscopy. And so you can scale the experiment from primary school, second grade, up to high school, close to leaving school. And you can also use trains with steam output. I tried that, but I didn't continue that line until it really worked. So I just want to mention that there is a lot of more possibilities in this experiment. So thank you for demonstrating.
Yes, thank you so much also to know these things. I didn't know, but I found really interesting the fact that you use different wagons. That's super nice. Yes, so as I said before, same experiment you can run in many different ways. So thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you. One more question online, and then the other questions that you can ask Anna later on. So the online question is from Aman Haruna. Where can I get the Lego Mindstorm sets, and can you integrate AI into Lego Mindstorms?
Okay, I know that they just changed the model of this, so you can buy them. There is a website, the Lego website, and they now integrate them with Python, so you can just work with blocks, but no, with this robot we can just work with blocks, but now they integrate also with Python, so they developed it, but there are also I don't know with AI, that I don't know. I know that there are different kind of robots, so perhaps someone, yes. But what I found is that they have both like Scratch and Python.
Okay, we have to close the session because there is a bus at 2 to go to the observatory. So thanks again to Anna and all the speakers in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you.